sometimes you got to go through the dark to get through to the light, so if you can make that journey with me, this is where I'm at in my life. And, this is the closest record to me that's really actually me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. Like, from where I've been to where I'm at, this is it.
Yo, it's Hatchet Chat
with Lars and Snax.
Your Juggalo homies talking hatchet tracks.
There's hatchet beats
and hatchet raps. The whole catalog's packed
full of classic gems, and we talk about them all on Hatchet Chat.
Whoop whoop. All right, so I want to start with this. This is a rhyme I love from the record. Catch me out in traffic, getting money is a habit. If I want it, then I grab it, getting carrots like a rabbit. That's from I Can't Believe. And I can't believe we got Esham on Hatchet Chat. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, man.
What up, though? What up, though, everybody at Hatchet Chat? Yeah, that's off of one of the songs on Purgatory, which is called I Can't Believe, which it's just basically just the times we're living in. It's a lot of things going on that I really can't believe is going on, but they're actually happening. So I spoke about it on that song, I Can't Believe. And yeah, that line, that's a pretty clever line. I think a lot of people, they listen to my songs for a lot of different reasons, but definitely for the witty lyricism. So yeah, for sure.
No doubt, man. And dude, this album is chock full of flavor like that. Of course, Purgatory, you're fresh off the release of this dope album, just came out on July 7th. It was highly anticipated. We knew it was coming for a while. You dropped a teaser right before the gathering on July 4th, and then boom, July 7th, we finally have it. Lars and I have been, haven't stopped talking about it. It's so dope. There's a lot to dive into, and Lars has a lot of literature knowledge, so he's going to be asking you a lot about its connection to like Dante's Inferno and stuff. But man, just first of all, congrats on the dope release, man. It's so fresh.
Thank you, guys.
So Esham, how's the response been? Like, because you're very prolific. Do you feel like the fans are feeling the record and you gotten a good response so far?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's been a really cool response from everybody. Actually, a lot of people are telling me that they're enjoying the record. People are really just now getting it and taking time to digest actually what's actually going on with the record. And I think the content and just the overall presentation of it is taking people back to the old days when I used to release records like that.
You've always had really cool concept records in the decades you've been doing this. And thinking about Dante's circle in the Inferno and the Divine Comedy, like Dante's poem focuses a lot on themes of sin, redemption, justice, the consequence of our actions, and redemption, which is like a really interesting theme through a lot of your music. And I love the 5 tracks: the Circle of Proud, Circle of Wraith, Circle of Avarice, and Circle of Gluttony, and Circle of Sloth. You kind of are like directly referencing Dante. And I was just wondering, like, yeah, man, like, what gave you the idea for this record and having the circle theme throughout Purgatory?
My music has always focused around religion and religious themes, since I started. I believe that's what separates me from a lot of other artists that do this kind of music, Absolutely Dante's Inferno, absolutely the 7 Circles of Purgatory, and where all that actually comes from. Because when I do make a record, I want people to think about, certain things, basically the consequences of your actions. So there were 7, 2 of them, I'm not gonna say they didn't make the cut, but the other 2 were they were just like, they were on fire. So maybe you might hear them, later on down the line. But like I say, I've always focused my albums around religious themes in one way or the other, and that's what separates me from a lot of other artists that do the wicked shit. The wicked shit is a lot of people think it's a sound, but it's not necessarily a sound. It's a feeling. It's a bunch of feelings actually. So that's why I talk about religion, and I want people to just think about a lot of things. Even myself in that regards of Purgatory.
Esham, do you personally do you believe that there's like a God and an afterlife, or is it up to interpretation? Or like, do you have a clear view on your perspective on that?
Well, I mean, I do know, there is a connection to the oneness, and I guess everybody's journey is to try to get as close as possible to that. I can't reveal any secrets or anything like that because it took me years to study these things, but, you know, I just lead by example and lead in a positive way. So, you know, whatever way you gotta go to get to that oneness, may you connect with it. But I do believe, yeah, there is something.
That is really interesting, Isham. And like one of the really cool things about Dante's Inferno and the influence like I can see in your work is the idea that there's this character of Virgil who wrote the Aeneid, like the old Roman poem. He acts as a guide for Dante through this. And I feel like in the wicked shit world and in Juggalo or whatever you want to call it, you've been like this guide reminding us of like this moral imperative to make the most of every moment, be conscious of our actions and realize that like what there's more to what we do than just our time on earth. And so it's interesting to me that like songs like Saint Detroit, you've almost been like canonized in this whole spiritual world of the Juggalo world, but you've created it. And so I don't know, that's kind of a broad question, but my main question is like, is it a conscious thing when you try to act as a guide, spiritual guide in the wicked shit world, or it's just kind of just like you don't even think about it, it just flows through you? Like how conscious is the morality I guess is my question.
Well, when I first started in the beginning, just the wicked shit was flowing through me. I was unconscious to the things that I was saying. That's why, maybe they were so brutal at times, or just they were coming from an unconscious mind. The further I got into the situation, just studying the arts, now I'm conscious to what I'm saying, and I just want people to really think about, the stuff that they're saying and the things that they're doing. And I guess I would say I'm leading by example, and I hope I, lead when people meet me and when they hear my music, because I think it's a misconception about who I actually am and, the music and the art that I actually create. So.
And that's something Lars and I were talking about. We wanted to ask you, because you have said that, especially in the earlier days when you were using a lot of the heavy duty, darker imagery, even, the satanic themes, you weren't so much trying to be a horror act as you were just kind of, using this imagery to draw attention to the crazy environment around you. But was there anything that inspired you to use such heavy duty themes, even up until present day? I know it's not as intense in some ways as it used to be, but I mean, even with Purgatory, this album, Dante's Inferno, like, are you a horror fan at all? Kind of like, what do you think inspired you to go that heavy with it at times?
Well, that's why the name of the record company is Real Life. Like real life itself is actually horrifying,
Right.
I'm talking about life at times in a way where, a lot of people, I guess they don't view it like me, I mean, I am coming from the perspective of a Black man on this planet. So my view of the world and my situations with real life might actually be horrifying to somebody. But I was not trying to make it a horror-based thing, but actually there's some horrible things that's been happening throughout history. And me coming into the world, the times I'm in, the times we're living in, I'm just reflecting those horrible times. And no, I'm not trying to make a horror movie. This is real life, The records I make, I'm just a reflection. I'm just like a news reporter reporting what's going on outside. So it's very much real, but it's horrifying. But yes, I do like horror films and, all that stuff too, because I'm a fan of that, but that is science fiction. And when I'm talking on records, I do both. But as Esham, when I'm making an Esham record, I'm just talking about real life. So to some people, it scares them the way I talk about it, because I am talking about religion and, man and woman and child and, all these things that we're surrounded by, in this world. So yeah, it might be horrifying to people, but it's just real life to me,
And I guess in relation to that, there was another thing Lars and I wanted to ask, like, you kind of had, and in many ways still have this kind of urban legend status, like you said. You're misunderstood by a lot of people because of the themes that you use in your music. And, Violent J and Behind the Paint talked about how there was like these kind of myths and legends about you. What is the craziest thing that you've heard about yourself? Like, has anybody ever been afraid to meet you in person or anything like that?
I mean, I think that's just what it is, that's somebody else's misconception of my art, A lot of people hear it all around the world, and it will have to be them, I mean, I am here, I do exist, but it's almost like I'm invisible, or people do not talk about my artwork, or is it just that still that the je ne de quoi, like, is it still that potent? You know what I mean? Like, I don't ever refer to myself as a legend, because that kind of infers that my story is over, so I don't ever, you never hear me saying that. I actually don't like the word. So I am still here, just being the artist and doing all the things that I've learned to do. So even if the mysticism and my mystery of my story is still the mystery, then that's probably why I still even exist.
That's cool. You can't define yourself by what you've created. You define yourself by what you continue to create. And it seems like that's like a healthy perspective as an artist you bring. It's cool.
Absolutely, because I think as people, we all have chapters in our story that, we want to skip through, or we're not too proud of, or whatever is going on. But, people cannot expect you to be the same person that you were, when you were 10 years old. So,
Right.
I mean, hip hop is celebrating 50 years of hip hop, and I'm actually turning 50 years old. So it is a celebration, but it's a celebration of life and real life.
Yeah. The thing about hip hop, right? It's a lot of ego, a lot of like reaffirming what you created, and everyone, there's lists, who's the this and that, and like being an OG, you've seen hip hop change, you've seen Juggalo culture change, like in your whole career. So we were just curious, Esham, like, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in hip hop in your career, and some of the changes in Juggalo culture specific, if you don't mind addressing that?
Um, I mean, a lot more people are accepting to hip hop, and they're incorporating hip hop into what they're doing, even different genres, country music, rock and roll, of course. There's always been that marriage, jazz too, but I see a lot more people incorporating hip hop into what they're doing, and it's being even more inclusive, because that's what hip hop always have been. It's been an inclusive art, so anybody can get in and join in on the fun, as long as they, respect the fundamentals of it, from my understanding. And as far as, the Juggalo culture, I guess that would be a question for, Violent J and them, but I think the Juggalo culture is just as beautiful as it always has been, It's a lot of people being free, being themselves, and expressing their artistic views, every race, every creed, every gender, whatever you want to be, they being free. They trying to lead by example, and they being all inclusive. So, that's what I see, and I hope it continues to be such as that.
No doubt, man. And Lars and I, the last episode on Hatchet Chat we just did was on the Three-Headed Monster release, which you were a part of. And it was kind of cool to see the juxtaposition between Ouija Mac, because he was going really hard with some like more old school style wicked shit, but you were like dropping a lot of conscious wisdom and stuff. Was that juxtaposition like really intentional, or is that just kind of did it come naturally when you were hearing those beats?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Violent J actually put all that stuff together, and he just let everybody be who they were. He wanted everybody to include whatever they were wanted to contribute to the project at the time, and that's what we all contributed. We all love everybody loved the project. I love everything on there. So we just all had fun with it, and we got back to just making music. It wasn't really nothing like that. We were just having fun and supporting each other, and it turned out to be a beautiful thing. We actually had super fun on that tour too, all across North America. The people were really receptive. Everybody just was having fun, and it felt like, the old days. OTB. We got that old thing back. It just felt really good to be out there, and you know, maybe there'll be more of that in the future. Who knows? Anything is possible.
Do you feel like, and if you could speak on this, we'll get any more super villains, like, or is that secret?
Well, I mean, these are once again all type of questions that you definitely have to ask Violent J or even Shaggy, but Violent J would be the one to know. I mean, you never know, man. I mean, if I see the signal in the sky or I get that secret call, then definitely, somebody might show up. That's what's up. That's how we do it. We always support what's going on, so anything's possible.
That's what's up. Cool. One of the things that we were wondering is like when you're chilling, what kind of music are you bumping like for inspiration? Are there any artists you're feeling these days you wanted to shout out or any records or anything?
I mean, I'm all over the place with my music, man. I mean, that's why probably it sounds like it sounds. So I'm anywhere from classical music to, rock and roll, punk rock. I mean, I love it all, man. I would advise people to just explore different genres and just always, try to hear something new. Even if you don't understand it, it just depends on where I'm at in the world. I'm just a fan of music. So I just would say, just continue to keep creating, man. I love it from the bottom and all the way to the top. So top and bottom, I like top and bottom.
That's what's up. That's tight. We could talk about some of the tracks we had specific thoughts about, and
Go
we'd love
for
to
it.
hear. Yeah, man. So, Snacks, you want to go first and just share your perspective on a few of them or questions?
Yeah, man. I really was enjoying some of the heavier tracks on here. There's some metal tracks that I believe you and Ryan Sevra from Felonious Assault produced.
Mhm.
And man, like it starts with a heavy one, Active Shooter, Circle of Wraith is another banger. And you were kind of a pioneer of that as well, with, sampling metal acts like Black Sabbath and stuff. You were really one of the first to mix metal and hip hop. So what made you want to get some more live sounds on this record with tracks like Active Shooter?
Oh man, I'm just always a fan of the art form. And anytime I can get together, just like a super dope producer like Ryan, anytime I can get together with somebody that's as creative, it's always a beautiful thing, man. I mean, I love heavy shit. And Active Shooter actually, unfortunately was inspired by some real life events. It was like about that school shooting down there in Texas, you know, and unfortunately, all that stuff happened. But that was my version of it. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of like how I get inspired to make music. And once again, even when I'm hearing a heavy track like the one Ryan produced, you know, then it's just something that happens to me where I go into a mode and it just happens kind of instantly. So yeah, I love those tracks, man. And I love heavy music. I love artists like, the Melvins and fucking Nirvana and all that stuff and all the old school classics, man. Big fan of stuff like that, like Santana and just anybody who really has a love for music. I'm a fan of it, but I'm a real big fan of heavy metal and punk rock as well as hip hop. So yeah, that's why I did it like that.
Hi, man. Do you listen to much Megadeth? Because I feel like a lot of the dystopian themes that are present on this record, like Megadeth will cover a lot, and they got that thrash sound, and that's what some of the heavier tracks on this album were reminding me of. Are you a Megadeth fan at all?
No, absolutely. I mean, I love all the heavy rock gods, man. I mean, I can just sit there all day and just go for days on that stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan of acts like Megadeth and just like I say, the Meat Loaves, the everything, man. Led Zeppelin, like it's amazing, you know. I don't have a list in front of me right now, but yeah, all those records I'm like deeply inspired by the ones that came before me.
Right.
That's my dream to be a rock star, you know, actually. But I do hip hop, but I just love music. I want to be an artist, man. You know, if there were
Right.
no genres and just music just played on the equal playing field, then a lot more people would be exposed to a lot of great music out there. You know, people are missing out because they're trying to put music in categories and small boxes or what have you. So they miss out on a lot of great artists, you know, like the Megadeths. But Megadeths are huge, so they don't miss out on people like that. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of great artists out there that don't get heard because there is a line between them. So one day,
Right.
hopefully, this music will break over those kind of lines. So that's why I made the album Purgatory.
Maybe you could tell us about the cover art for Purgatory and how you came up with that idea for this record.
Well, that's actually done by an in-house artist that we have. Moonshine did all the cover art. She's a wonderful designer. I mean, she's actually the best, one of the best in the world. Like, yeah, I can go on for days about that, but it is wrapped up in the seven circles of purgatory and the whole Dante's Inferno and everything about that. So I did want people to just kind of like, even if they didn't know anything about purgatory and what it was, to kind of like be like, why did he make this album? And maybe they might, you know, just find something positive out of it or go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying though? So that's kind of like why I made that. I want people to think about the things that they're doing and to the levels and the degrees that they're doing them, you know. So yeah, that's why I kind of made Purgatory. The artwork looks like that because it is all those things, you know. I think life is like that in ways, you know, and that's why I want people to stay focused on the art. You know, I don't really have a need to put my own face on there or anything like that. I've never gravitated toward that. Although I did graduate from Handsome Boy Modeling School, top of my class. I don't, you know, advocate for that type of thing. I want people to look at the artwork, you know, and listen to the music, you know, because it's really all about the music for me.
That's what's up, man. That's cool. Saint Detroit. That to me is a standout track, and we referenced it earlier. I love the Star Wars references and talking about flying into Detroit on the red eye, and like it's just a great imagery on that song. I was wondering if you'd be down to talk about just the idea behind that track.
Absolutely. I mean, the idea behind the track Saint Detroit was Detroit sometimes gets a negative rap, you know. It gets a bad rap, and a lot of people chase the wrong type of imagery in Detroit. I wouldn't say the wrong type of imagery. I mean, unfortunate life circumstances lead you down certain paths, but there's a lot of good people in Detroit, despite what people might think, and there's a lot of saints in Detroit. And I think there's a lot of people that help people in Detroit, and it's just turning into a beautiful city, you know. And I just don't want people to focus too much on negative imagery. And when I talk about Detroit, I just want to big it up, and I just want to say you know, just a golden place, you know, with golden people. And Saint Detroit could be anybody. You know, I advocate for
Mm,
Detroit, but when people see me, I hope they see the best representation of Detroit they ever seen in their life because I am from Detroit.
Yeah, and it seemed like you were drawing some parallels, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but like actually to the city of Detroit, to Purgatory itself, almost like Detroit is in this, maybe in the eyes of people because of those misconceptions. Maybe people in Detroit feel like it's in this stagnant state, you know, not getting the love it deserves. Am I wrong that you were kind of drawing a parallel between the two in that way as well?
You know, I've always wanted, you know, people to look at the beauty of what Detroit is. And, you know, they're looking at it now for sure. But there is a lot of great talent in Detroit. You know, it's just, it has to come through in a positive way for people to really understand what's going on there. So, hopefully, like I said, I can lead by example. You know what I'm saying? I know my artwork hasn't always been, in the greatest positive light. I had to, sometimes you got to go through the dark to get to the light, so if you can make that journey with me, this is where I'm at in my life. And, this is the closest record to me that's really actually me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. Like, from where I've been to where I'm at, this is it. And everything that Purgatory represents, like, let's just say if you did die and you were stuck in this waiting room, and the only way you can get out is for somebody that's alive to actually say something nice or say a prayer for you to get you out of there, even if you didn't believe in heaven or hell, And that was like a way to get anybody out of there. If you thought about your loved ones or whoever, that passed on from this life, all you got to do to get them out of that state, one person, is say a prayer for them. And that's just powerful to me. If one person prayed for you, you know what I'm saying? So, Purgatory.
Right. And that's like a thing that is in the Catholic religion, like pretty heavy, the praying for the dead, that a lot of like the more Protestants, stay away from. But you're right. There is something so powerful in that ability to be able to still advocate for the dead and then have them pray for you when they're redeemed.
Absolutely.
So I think you did a really dope job playing with that imagery.
So there it is, good sir.
That's what's up, man. That's this energy from that there's hope. In Purgatory, there's
Absolutely.
hope. And I think that is something, your career has shown that. And you've been a big inspiration to both of us. We're, obviously we've been following you for years. And I wanted to end with a lyric that I love on the record from I think it's from Circle of Sloth. You say, constantly living in a state of shock until you're done playing the game of life. Then all your pieces go back in the box. So clever and so like true. And yeah, man, like what? Yeah, maybe we can end with what that rhyme meant to you, what those lyrics meant to you.
I mean, that's actually one of my favorite songs, and that's just what it means to me. Everybody got to really think about that. When we're all done playing this game of life, all your pieces are gonna go back in the box, and yeah, it's deep, man. So yeah, it means the same thing to me that it means to somebody when they hear that. So it just makes you think about what's going on and what's important to you.
That's what's up. Well, dude, congrats on the record. Thank you for being on Hatchet Chat and like for the respect and time you've given us, and like we'll keep spreading the word. And yeah, man, great to meet you through this medium. So thank you, Esham.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and thanks for having me on the show, guys.
You too, E. It's been an honor, man. Thank you so much. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop,
Peace.
whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Peace.